So, I don't know about you, but I was a bit of a bugger as a kid. I was one of those difficult kids. We've heard that 3 or 4 times this morning. And I was one of those. And I got called disruptive a lot. And I wrote a book, and someone suggested that I should call it disruptive or do disrupt, so I did. And I'm bored of the word disrupt. It's become, if we're not careful, it will become another trinket in the jewellery box of business lingo, and that's not what it's for. And I spent an unforgettable and unrepeatable year working within the retail industry when disruption meant making cornettos in mint rather than chocolate, which is not a bad thing, but it's not disruption. So I'm kind of frustrated that we call doing things differently disruption. Disruption should come with a purpose, and having a purpose is really positive. Disruption for disruption's sake is not necessarily positive. So, I grew up in the 1970s, I was born in 60, I'm 47 now. My father was a photographer, so I've got loads of photographs like this. If I ever had to do a greatest hits album, it would be so easy. A hits album would be nice. And I went to school in the village, and I was really dissatisfied with the quality of school dinners. Jamie Oliver would have hated me, actually, because I campaigned for sandwiches. When I say campaigned, what I mean is I took 120 kids out on strike for 3 hours until they agreed to give us sandwiches. But if you'd have been eating lime jelly on pastry with a banana on top and someone called it a pudding, you would have gone on strike as well. That's cruelty. So I did that, and I went home, and we got given sandwiches after 3 hours of chanting. It was the 1970s, you know, I was fed a diet of sugar, superheroes, and industrial unrest. That was the 1970s. And I went home that night and spoke to my mum and said, "Mum, we're allowed sandwiches." And my mum rightly said, "They may be allowed sandwiches, Mark, you're not. You're having one hot meal a day and it's going to be at school." So, when sandwiches came in, when my new regime, my new system arrived, I was first in the queue with my tray getting my normal dinner. And Mrs. Thomas, who I owe a big apology to, said, "Mark, I'm really glad you've stayed with us, because if everyone has sandwiches, I won't have a job." And it was that moment of clarity where I thought, shit. With power comes responsibility. Super important lesson. I loved growing up when I grew up because you could dress up and it was normal. In the 70s, I spent most of my time dressed up as a superhero or a cowboy or a spaceman. If I'm really honest, I would like to spend most of my time now dressed in one of those 3 garbs. I also loved the 80s. The 80s, you could walk through London town dressed as a pirate with a white stripe across your face, and you would just go into a meeting. That was normal. Eyeliner was normal. Flamboyance was normal. I've got a really good friend, a guy called James Victoria. He's an artist in New York, and he's got this phrase, and it's brilliant. He says, "The thing that made you weird as a kid makes you brilliant now." And that's so true. And we spend all the years knocking those corners off. And I work in universities, I lecture in universities as kind of a favour. And I spend my time trying to tell the students not to shoehorn themselves into a suit. Because the people recruiting the students don't want suits. They want the people that they don't already have, which are hopefully the kids that grew up dressing like this. They want edge, and they're not getting edge. So hold on to that bit that made you special. Now, I believe that every one of us has a superpower. You've all got superpowers, yeah, everyone here. Yeah, I don't mean like a misfit or a hero superpower. I mean something special that you can add to the world, yeah? And you all woke up this morning wanting to do good, yeah? Nobody woke up this morning thinking, today I'm going to be downright evil. No one thought that. And yet every day we bump into people who are evil. What about average? Any of you woke up this morning and thought, Today is the day where I take average to a whole new level. Any of you thought that? And yet we're surrounded by average. And here's the problem with average. It's got a long half-life. If it's dreadful, you'll stop doing it, you'll stop buying it, people will stop watching it. If it's average, it goes under the radar. Average is the worst. I'd rather have something dreadful than average. I take students on, I take designers on in my business, and one of the interview questions, I'm very, very scientific with my interviews. One of my interview questions is, what's your favourite music? And I don't care what the answer is, actually, unless... No, I'm not going to say it. I don't care what the answer is. It's Kanye West. I don't care what the answer is, as long as they have one. The worst answer is this one. Well, I don't really mind, I like a bit of everything. How can you like a bit of everything? In everything, I would include James Blunt. Very funny on Twitter, rubbish on CD. Anyway, we all want to do good. We all wake up. I've made a career out of being disruptive, out of nearly getting sacked. I run a small company that sets startups up inside large organisations. I do eco-design. I've saved my clients 120 million quid by designing things better. That's just doing not necessarily bad things, average things better. And I also then helped start something called the Do Lectures. The Do Lectures, how many of you have heard of the Do Lectures? Smattering, brilliant. The Do Lectures, imagine TED in Wales, but better. That's the Do Lectures. And the whole idea of the Do Lectures is to close the gap between what you are and what you could be. And it was driven by the realisation that actually at the end of your life, we talk about your life flashing before your eyes. And that film or that vision is powerful. You'll see all the people whose hearts you made beat faster. You'll see all the smiles that you conjured on the lips of strangers. That's not as weird as it sounds. You'll see all of the amazing things that you've done, and that is a beautiful film. And then you're shown a second film of all the hearts that you could have increased the speed of, all the hairs that you could have raised in the back of people's necks, all the achievements that you could have made, if only you'd used all of your own talents. Not your talents, not Mark's talents, your own talents. And that film is the film that will make you cry. So the Do Lectures is there to try and close the gap, to try and inspire people to move on. Because I've had enough of doing bad things better. It's not sufficient. It's not sufficient to do things better. We've got to do better things. There's a whole load of stresses. I love Banksy. He always gets it right and there's no copyright on his images. But he sums up the problems that we face beautifully. So beautifully. And this one is so poignant. The harm that we do with our everyday living is really huge. You've all got smartphones. Most of you will have a smartphone in your pocket. In that smartphone there will be a tantalum capacitor, which is what holds the charge, arguably not very well, but it's what holds the charge. The tantalum capacitor is made from coltan. Coltan comes from lots of places around the world, and officially 15% of it comes from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which, like every country in the world that you have to put the words democratic and republic in the title, is neither of those two things. Now, unofficially, 80%, or between 65 and 80% of the world's coltan comes from the DRC. And the world's coltan is protected, the DRC's coltan is protected by gangs. And those gangs include boy soldiers. Kids as young as 8 holding weapons like this. This is normal. This is dreadful. And there's a really great guy called Sean Carasso, runs a charity called Falling Whistles. Sean spoke at the Do Lectures a few years ago, and he tells a story of talking to these kids while he was in Kinshasa. And at the end of the conversation, they said, we need to go back to war. I used to go home from a tea, or to watch Batman. He had to go back to war. And Sean was quite upset and said, this is crazy, I feel really bad, this is dreadful. And the kid said, don't feel sorry for us, feel sorry for the boys with the whistles. The boys that are too little to hold a gun, because their single job is to blow the whistle really hard and distract the opposition before they shoot them. And Sean set up a charity called Falling Whistles, and it's all about our consumption of these rare earths. And the means of production is geared around raw materials. That's what Marx told us, and he was right. Raw materials plus labour equals product plus profit plus waste. If you don't own raw materials, you can't make things, and we have to start making things again in this country. Ethics. We all have probably got cheap clothes, cheap t-shirts, cheap jeans. And the thing is, cheap has a cost that you can't see, and expensive is cheaper than you'll ever know, because it lasts longer. But it's so hard when you have no money to make these decisions. These jeans were made in Wales. These jeans cost me so much money I can't tell you. I'm embarrassed. These jeans are guaranteed till I die. These are the cheapest jeans I'll ever buy. These were the most expensive jeans I've ever bought. So it's how we measure these things and how we explain who we are is really interesting. I use my jeans to explain who I am, and my Dr. Martens to explain who I am. We all do it. We all have these labels. And that's really, really interesting. That's great. But we're about to change massively the balance of power in the world. You all know this. But 3 billion more middle class emerging between now and 2030. They're not new people. They're people moving from working to middle class. It's the bourgeoisification, which is a word, I invented it, of the planet. What does it look like then? If you've got 3 billion more middle class, mainly in the East, India, Africa as well, who's going to make products for us? Who's going to make, what are we going to do as a nation? We have to disrupt our current models, and we have to do it super soon. Where do we fit in to this new world? We used to design. Designed in California, made in China. Again, a lecture. I know that most people on master's courses at some of the universities I work at are Chinese students, and why not? Why wouldn't you want to upskill yourself? Everyone believe in equality? Absolutely. How many pairs of hands touch an iPad during manufacture? Beginning to end, have a guess. I'll start here with 0, and I'll keep walking, and we've got about 100 and maybe 200 at this end. You tell me when it's about right. About 70, 80 pairs of hands. So 146 pairs of hands, about here. And every pair of hands comes with a free brain, and every free brain has a hunger to disrupt the way that they're living, and that's normal and good. But there also comes consumption with that, and that's really scary. When you look at what we consume and then you amp it up, then you can see an increase in scale that is really frightening. And this is why China owns access to between 60 and 97, depending on who you speak to, % of access to the world's rare earths. That's why China's investment in Africa is colossal. Let's be honest, it's why China's investment here is growing. It's the means of production. It's sensible. Now, I don't see any of this as negative. I see all of this as positive, because we have the ability to reintroduce manufacturing. My granddad made Triumph automobiles. My nan's brother invented the car Jet 1 and Jet 2 for Triumph, the first jet-powered cars. His brother invented the second skin roof for Land Rover. His brother made Massey Ferguson tractors, all in Coventry. They've got 2 things in common. Number 1, they're all dead. Number 2, so are the skills that they had. We have to re-skill. We have to get people making things again in order that we have an economy that isn't reliant on all the stuff that's transient. Because at the moment, we rely on all the things that are transient. Oops, sorry. I have a really big fear. I have a big fear that we'll invest so much money in the finance and design worlds that we'll de-skill ourselves forever. 5 years away from losing key manufacturing skills into retirement. Then what do we do? How do we relearn that? But the good news is the sharing economy, the peer-to-peer economy, is going to grow from 15 billion now to 335 billion, equivalent in the next 10 years. The circular economy, we can lead on this. We can make our stuff here again. We'll have to pay a bit more. But the thing is, the poor already pay the most. If you go into one of those shops that sells you things monthly, you can buy the same thing that you can buy in John Lewis, but it's more expensive. And you can get really attractive terms that turn it into a monthly payment. This is leasing, by any other word. Have a guess how attractive those terms are. The APR is between 59 and 69%. We're not paying that, as the middle class is at Brighton. But the poor are. So we're already servitized products. We can already sell expensive things cheaply to people who have no money. So why don't we disrupt that model more? Why don't we sell great things that last a long time, that are amazing, and that make more profit for the manufacturers and less for the people who sit in the middle? That has to be the biggest disruption. The biggest challenge we have is how we make more money by selling less stuff. That is our abiding challenge. I'm up for that. We can change models. We can design some of the world's best products in this country. I want to make them again, and I want to change business models. So we all have superpowers, all of us, every one of us. Everyone, even though those of you that are thinking, I'm nothing special, but I can do that funny thing with my knees. You've all got something. You just need to decide whether you're going to use it for good or for bad. My advice to you would be a bit more left and a little less right.